All right, so we're jumping into the horrific Maui wildfires today, and I thought we'd jump right into it. Matt, any thoughts going on to it? I know you have a bunch of different opinions.
It's a scam.
That's where I thought you might go with that.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where we're seeing all these signs about they were shutting off the water. They were what else? They were talking about how with the death counts.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, a couple of things. Yeah, 100%. They claim that there's 106 people that have passed away. Realistically, they have 2,000 people missing.
A World Trade Center event.
100%. And the way that they're actually counting the deaths is, if they don't find all the remains intact, they don't count it as a death, which is, kind of absurd to think about in regards to something, being on fire and incinerating, right? You're not going to get a lot left over.
Yeah, well, when you see the media not allowed in, and when you start seeing the signs media blackout, throttling flights to Hawaii, I mean, the list goes on. When you see the BlackRocks and the Vanguards of the world trying to swoop in and buy this land, these are the banks that are connected to the politicians who've effectively taken over the world with the help of the politicians, right? They do it through the banking system. When you see all this stuff adding up, it just becomes one of those things where if you believe the mainstream narrative of what's going on, you're the conspiracy theorist, not us. And I think we do this podcast really as a means to talk about it. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, are afraid to talk about these subjects. I do. I'm not afraid. I want to talk to you about it. I appreciate your insights. You look at this stuff just like I do. I think there's a lot of correlations between this fire and the fires in California, right? Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, well, one thing that you touched on just briefly is just the water, right? The restricting the water flow or not even having it in time, right? They could have released that water well in advance to help fight these fires, and it wasn't. And their water management department is coming under fire, no pun intended, but because they held back this water, which is really absurd to think about. Another thing is they have a world-class, alarm system, in case anything, natural disasters, bombs, anything.
North Korea, right.
Right. And the fact that failed, right, and the power went out and not having the water. There's just a lot of things that line up that really make this just a really devastating and just an absolute disaster.
And it was so bizarre to me because I look at things from the not even the 40,000 foot view. I look at the 120,000 foot view. I mean, the same sheriff from the Las Vegas shootings is now the sheriff of Maui. I mean, this is just bizarre stuff. And I've seen this stuff. You can look this up, but they have crisis actors left and right. I've seen it with some of these shootings. They had a guy I remember was watching a video and he was trying to get himself together before he's speaking. He's laughing and he's just talking with reporters. And then he comes on, "This is a tragedy. This is it." And it's literally footage of this guy.
Paid actor.
We know that the government's doing this. So people out there, you really have to start questioning this stuff. I think when you start seeing these different signs, these different, manipulating the body counts, whatever it may be, shutting off the water, the alarm.
Telling people to shelter in place when the town's burning down.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And this is going to be a World Trade Center event. This is going to be thousands of people dead. And it just speaks to the conspiracy theorists in these cases could be right. I was watching an interview on ninoscorner.tv, great podcast. We listen. And he had a guest on there named Brad Olson. And I've listened to Brad Olson. I've listened to him many times. And this guy, he's sharp. He's just trying to expose the truth just like you and I are trying to do.
All right.
This guy was talking about, and he showed the video of direct energy weapons, the usage of direct energy weapons. And what it looked like was you would see, we saw the video, the land's on fire, and you see coming through the fire, you just see these lightning bolts. And then you see this beam coming down, and it looks like special effects. But I mean, if you're looking at direct energy weapons, I would think they look like special effects.
Special effects, yeah. Like a video game.
So it's the weirdest situation. And of course, it's playing nothing but on the mainstream media, keeping people's focus, right? Keeping the attention on it. They'll probably shift to another story soon. But yeah, I would say that these are very indicative of also the Cali wildfires in California, where what we saw in California is we saw trees that were incinerated from the inside,
right?
And the outside was perfectly fine. Certain houses getting destroyed while the guy next door to them completely intact. So it really starts to beg the question, what is our government up to? Because as we know, direct energy weapons is not some new idea. You did some research and tell me about that.
Essentially, like we've been investing billions in it, for years now.
Right.
So we have the weapons. I guarantee it. Other countries have the weapons, and now they're just starting to find use cases not saying that necessarily, this is what caused it, but it just leads you to believe with just the slow recovery, all the things that went wrong to just, make this even worse. It's kind of in the back of your mind, right? And, I think the crazy thing with the Maui wildfires is, having that media blackout and then just the delayed response of Joe Biden, right? He says no comment. He doesn't say anything.
Yep.
Trump comes out, gives, a great,
forces his hand.
Yeah, and then finally, Joe Biden and John Podesta, fly out there and give their climate change speech, right, and then insult everybody with $700.
It's always coming back to this, the $700. What an insult!
Yeah.
What an insult!
As we sent a couple $100 billion to Ukraine.
And you look at the players involved. I mean, like you said, John Podesta being one, Oprah Winfrey being another. She has a lot of interest in that land. She said she owns. What's her?
Yeah, she started with 100. Now she's up to 1,000 acres in Maui. And the big thing that a lot of people are worried about is just the predatory buying now and trying to get this land for pennies on the dollar, right? Because the majority of the fires didn't hurt the big money. It actually hurt just a small town, this historic
people they couldn't
town.
Get out, buy out.
Yeah, that they've been trying to buy out for years, right? And there's some weird things about Oprah.
I think, and I think and I'll get to Oprah in just a second, but I think what they do is they use mafia tactics. That's what this is. I look at this as this group, whether it be Oprah, John Podesta, Biden, you're dealing with the mafia. And what they probably do is they probably come to these towns and say, hey, we're going to make you an offer. Take this offer. You never know. Sometimes things, they just go bad.
Yeah.
Right? And then no one sells. Everybody says, to hell with you, get lost. And then now they're coming back at them with $700 offers saying, should have taken the offer up front. You're dealing with the mob. That's what these people are. But yeah, Oprah.
Well, we know Joe Biden was laser focused.
Yeah, his tweet specifically said we're laser focused.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. But yeah, to Oprah, just to give you a sense of who Oprah is. Oprah, her spiritual leader, her spiritual guide was a guy by the name of John of God. We did some research on him. This guy, he's in prison right now only for 99 years. I mean. His reported crime was he tortured and raped over 600 women and children. And this is Oprah's spiritual leader.
Spiritual advisor. Yeah.
So there's some real evil behind this. We can only do our research. We can only guess who these people are. But I think when you put the dots together, which is what we want to do, these people are just the worst of the worst.
And they're all connected.
And I think this podcast being the Boomerang podcast, what goes around will come around. These people will go to prison eventually, and they will be exposed. And I think that this process right now is an exposure process of these individuals.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's really wild. And I think, just going into the $700 payments, it's just so insulting that that's what they would give these people, right? And then just, how slow that they're getting around. I heard FEMA's actually doing a good job from some of the locals like in town, but it's actually more of the government and, the administration that's really slow walking like this whole process, right?
Yeah.
And
send billions to Ukraine, but give these people $700 a piece. Yeah. Absurd. But it tells you, it exposes them. It tells you whose side that they're on. I think that the good that comes out of this is it puts these people more and more in the spotlight. And the more we see who these people are, the more I think the public can get together and demand some type of change, which is what I'd like to see, and I think you'd agree. But yeah, our thoughts and prayers absolutely go out to the victims, and I know thoughts and prayers are not always enough, but from this show, we mean it. If there's any way we can help anybody in that area, give us a call. Let us know. We want to do what we can. We just obviously don't want to donate to some corrupt group at the same time, right?
I'd like to make sure it actually gets where it's going.
Yeah, we don't want to donate to the Oprah fund because we know where that's going. But the saga will continue. The story will continue to unfold, and it'll be very interesting to see how this stuff starts to play out, what gets exposed in the process.
We'll be here to lay it out for you.
Yep. We'll do future episodes whenever we get any new information behind the scenes.